So in this lesson, I wanted to demonstrate a relatively simple but awesome sounding way to play a jazz blues using quartal voicings. And this way of playing a blues is very widely used. Now, as the name implies, a jazz blues is a combination of jazz and blues. From the blues, it takes the use of primarily dominant chords and the blues scale, and the use of the 12-bar blues chord progression. And from jazz, it takes more sophisticated rhythms, harmonies, chord voicings, and techniques. Such that you have a mix of the raw emotive power of the blues and the intellectual and sophisticated elements of jazz. Now in this particular instance, we are going to take a standard 12-bar blues progression, which you can see up here in the picture-in-picture. But we're going to apply a number of jazzy techniques and concepts to it. Specifically, we're going to use available tensions, so add 9ths, 11ths, and 13ths to the chords, rather than just using pure 7th chords. Use quartal voicings, so build the chords up in 4ths rather than 3rds. Use comping, so varying the rhythm of the chords rather than playing an ostinato in the bass, which you hear in more traditional blues songs. We're also going to add side-slipping and chromatic passing chords, rather than just playing the chords exactly as written out in the progression. And then we're going to improvise over all of that using the C blues scale, but adding in some passing notes. Now, of course, you could also use more complex scales like the Mixolydian scale or the diminished scale to improvise over it, but we're not going to do that here. So now let's do each of these separately so that you can see how we slowly build out this blues and develop it into a jazz blues progression. So first, we're going to take that standard 12-bar blues progression and play it using quartal chords that include available tensions in them, so 9ths and 13ths in this case. And also notice that the chords are built up in intervals of 4ths. That's what makes them quartal, and you can see the voicings up here as well. So that'll sound like this. Cool, so again, that's just the 12-bar blues progression using those quartal voicings, which already have those 9ths and 13ths added in them. Next, we're going to do the exact same thing, but start comping, so varying our rhythm while playing the chords. Cool, nice and easy. Next, we're going to introduce side-slipping and a chromatic passing chord. Now, side-slipping is literally that. You take the chord, and then you slip to the side by one semitone, and then slip back. You can do that down or up. So you're literally just playing the chord, slipping to the side by one semitone, and then slipping back. And we're going to do that side slipping over chords that span 2 bars, because we just have a little bit more time to insert that side slipping. And we're going to introduce a chromatic passing chord between the 5 chord and the 4 chord in bar 9. So we're going to play the G7, and then on our way down to the F7, we're going to move through a G flat 7, so that we play G7, G flat 7, F7. So here we're literally just taking that full chord voicing and moving every finger or every note down a semitone till we get to the 4 chord. Cool, now doing that sounds as follows. So again, I'm using that quartal chord voicing, comping with it, playing those chords, but occasionally slipping to the side, either up or down by one semitone, then slipping back, and using that chromatic passing chord to get from the G down to the F. Cool, and finally, we're going to insert some improvisation on top of all that. And we're just going to use the C blues scale, but insert a few passing notes or a few chromatic notes to get us from one note in the blues scale to the next. And so to do this, we're going to play the chord, then play a little phrase using that C blues scale, and then come back to the chord. And then play a little phrase and come back to the chords, and so on. And remember, we are occasionally going to put in that side slipping and that chromatic passing chord idea as well. So together, that could sound as follows. Cool, and that is one way to play the blues in a jazzy way, a jazz blues little progression. So to practice this, just practice each one of those elements separately, those quartal voicings, then comping, then side slipping, and then improvising on top, each one of them separately, slowly, till you get used to it, till you're comfortable with the fingering and the movement and all that, and then only try and start combining all these ideas. Cool, now finally for a little bit of fun, let's chuck on a drum loop and record a walking bass line. Cool, and now let's play that back and solo over the top using our jazz blues progression.